Okay, this is a how-to video, how to make homemade biscuits from scratch. Ingredients: milk, you can use skim milk, 1%, 2%, or whole milk. You want self-rising flour, some Crisco, which the old timers call lard, and butter. You'll need a bowl and a sifter and your hands. So you want to get some Crisco and grease your pan. This keeps the biscuits from sticking to your pan while they bake. You want to preheat your oven to 350 while you're making your biscuits. This is a messy job, so don't worry if your hands get messy, and mine look gross, but we're going to keep going. Now you want to sift your flour, get any lumps out. And I usually do a whole sifter to a whole sifter and a half if you're feeding a family of 5. If you're just going to do 2 people, then you might want to just use 1 sifter full of flour. And let's just add a little bit more to our sifter. You might have some little pieces, chunks left in there, that's fine. You don't want the chunks in your flour. Now with the back of my hand, I make a bowl with the flour. Can you see inside the bowl? So just make you a bowl with the flour inside your mixing bowl. And depending on how much lard you use will depend on how many biscuits you can make. I usually use 3 or 4 finger scoops of lard. Now you're going to mix your lard and your milk together without getting any flour in it. So you want to pour some milk over your lard just to kind of cover it. And then take your fingers and you're going to crush the lard until it looks cottage cheesy. And you might need more milk. I may have gotten more lard than I needed. So you can always add more milk. Now I'm probably getting some flour in there as I go, but try your best not to get any flour in there until you get all the lard squished up in the milk. And I just turn my bowl just to get it good and mixed. Now, show them the consistency. That looks cottage cheesy. And just, once it gets to that state, then you can start adding in a little bit of flour at a time. And I kind of go in a circle around the bowl because you don't want to get the flour, you don't want it to touch your bowl, in other words. You want to keep it within the flour bowl, the bowl that's made out of flour. You want to keep it inside that circle. So you can pull flour from the bottom, pull flour from the sides, and mix it in until you get a good consistency. It's going to start getting thick as you add the flour in. And it's getting thick. You can see the consistency changing. And once I get it to where it's, you know, almost to where I can't stir it anymore, you can start kneading the dough. So I'm getting ready to start kneading the dough. Okay, now this can be a little tricky because you're going to have it all over your hands, but you want to flour your hands completely, front and back. And this keeps the dough from sticking to your hands as bad. And your biscuits will need this extra flour anyway, so I just flour my hands over my mixture and get the back of my hand really flour, because that's what you're going to use to knead with. So I roll my bowl over and I'm just kind of rolling the dough over and then push in with my hand. Can they see it rolling over? Roll it over and push it in, and eventually it's going to make a good dough. And your hands shouldn't be sticking to it. If your hands are sticking to it, then you need to flour your hands a little more. But I mean, I've got dough all over my hands. And I can flour the back of my hand while I'm pulling my dough over. And I'm not pulling any flour with the dough. You try not to pull in much flour because that makes your biscuits dry. So just rolling it around inside that flour bowl and let it pick up a little bit of flour as you go. Now, it's about to the right consistency. I can start making my biscuits now. And this is why you flour both hands, because I'm going to use my hands to form my biscuits rather than a rolling pin. Now you could take this dough out and roll it out on a rolling pin, on plastic, or on wax paper, but I prefer just to make them with my hands. So when I do, I let my left hand kind of be the mold, and my right hand is going to hold the biscuit, and I'm pushing the biscuit in so that the palm of my hand is making the top of the biscuit. My fingers are making the bottom of the biscuit. So the biscuit's kind of on its side. And then there's the top, there's the bottom. And you lay it on your tray and then use your fingers and push down on it to make your biscuit. So let's see how many biscuits I can make. You want your biscuits to touch each other on the pan. That helps them to rise. And I'm just rolling in with my fingers. So my palm is forming the top, my fingers are forming the bottom. Takes lots of practice. Now, depending on your oven, you might need to let them bake 20 minutes. You might need to let them bake 30, but you'll keep an eye on them when they get to that 20-minute mark. You'll want to check them. You want them to be done in the middle, so you can take a toothpick and poke them in the middle and make sure that they're done in the middle. Or just look for that golden brown color on top of them to see if they're finished. But you'll do 350 for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so you can see that made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 biscuits. And I will put those in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. If you want, you can put some butter on top of each one as they bake, and that'll make them just a little extra special.